Well, hello everyone, this is Brother D, and today we have the privilege of talking with Adrian Reynolds, who's the owner of a flight school with a high calling. So Adrian, I've got some questions for you. For those who are watching this video or even listening, they're going to notice that you have a somewhat interesting accent. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
Sure.
And how you came to find yourself in Kentucky.
Sure. I grew up in Zimbabwe, in southern Africa. My family background is English for the most part. My parents were born in southern Rhodesia, as it used to be called. So my accent has that English side to it, and then it was also affected by the South African accent. And then I've been here for 22 years, so I've got some Kentucky influence as well.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I came here to go to school.
For school.
And I've been here ever since. I didn't plan to be here this long, but it's turned into a much longer stint than planned.
Well, that all makes sense. You came here for school, and so that ties into my next question for you. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about your educational background, and also tell us what you have studied, maybe any degrees that you have attained, and also tie that into how God has used them, how He's used them in your current occupation.
Yeah, definitely. So I came initially for the purpose of getting a degree from Kentucky Christian College, or Kentucky Christian University as it now is, like you said, really in high school education. My goal was to go back to Zimbabwe. The idea was I'd go back to Zimbabwe and become a missionary and work with missionaries back in Zimbabwe. During the course of my studies at KCC, I became very interested in studying just the text of the Bible a lot more on a much higher level. And so I ended up going to Asbury Seminary and getting a master's degree in biblical studies and then one in theological studies. And then that led to further hunger for knowledge and all that. So now I'm at the tail end of a PhD in biblical studies, also at Asbury Seminary. And so I think that all of those, all of that study time, which I really enjoy and passionate about, do inform what I'm doing here at the flight school. For one thing, I do approach the flight school in a sort of a pastoral way.
Really?
In that I want my students to do well, and that's the mentality I had in the ministry as well. I'm an ordained
that's awesome.
pastor too, so I have that same kind of idea. I want to facilitate their success. So in that way, there's a definite influence. I'm also excited about the various ministry opportunities that aviation sort of affords. And
How so?
Well, there are opportunities all over the place these days to change people's lives using airplanes and the ability to fly. So one of the things that our non-profit entity does, which is called Wings of Refuge Flight Ministries, is to train one kid per year per location, per flight training location, in an effort to help them get out of a difficult situation and maybe begin a career in aviation, but at a very minimum change their perspective on life just by offering them a pilot's license. So our young people in that program are talented. They go through a rigorous kind of selection process, and then they work hard at their ratings, and just meeting that challenge in itself is a benefit to them.
That's amazing.
Life-changing thing.
And so you said they go all the way through to get their private pilot license.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And we're at the beginning stages of that. Our first young person is about to solo, And so we're moving along with it, but we have big dreams, you know, aside from even those things.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So Adrian, is there anything else you'd like to share about your ministry or maybe even your flight school?
Sure. I am excited about the growth of both entities. You know, one of the reasons we separated them was because we did start out as Wings of Refuge Flight School and Ministry, and decided to separate them out into Wings Flight Training, so that's the flight school business, the flight training business, and Wings of Refuge Flight Ministries is the nonprofit side of what we do, and I'm excited about the growth of both. I mean, we're moving into other locations with the flight training, and as we do that, I think the ministry side is going to grow as well as we have more resources, more airplanes, more pilots available to do various types of charitable flying. I think the ministry will grow into in lots of different directions, including maybe a missionary flight training school.
Well, that would be awesome.
I would love to do that. I have friends in Zambia who operate a charitable flight ministry, an airplane, mission aviation ministry out of the capital, Lusaka there. So I can see lots of opportunities for internships and things like that. And there are colleges in the area where we could, with whom we could join in that venture, so doing a mission flight training type operation. All of it's really fledgling, but growing and with a lot of exciting opportunities on both sides of the operation.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is truly exciting. I'm looking forward to what God's going to be doing in the days ahead.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, Adrian, I feel like we've got a really good introduction to your ministry. I also know that you have a really busy and successful flight school, which we didn't get time to discuss, but I'll be sure to include a link with this video below. Once again, this is Brother D here with Adrian Reynolds, the owner of Wings Flight Training and Wings of Refuge Ministry, and I hope you've enjoyed learning what God is doing in Central Kentucky. Also be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video.